Jimbo, I got to tell you, we are having a blast here at RTT. We had the Restaurant 365 Transformational Technology Tour event.
You added the T. You literally added
it's RTTT.
No, it's
right?
Restaurant Transformational Tour, the RTT.
Well, I added technology. You know, why not, Jimbo? A restaurant, we had technology.
You never have too many T's.
I'm going to talk to the marketing team. We're going to get a little action there. I love it. I love it. We're in Boston. We're having a blast. Everyone's going to the Bruins game tonight. Jimbo, I'm just saying, we weren't invited. I don't know. Is that, should I be upset? I don't know.
I went to a Bruins game and they weren't playing the Rangers. I got to tell you, I don't think my wife would welcome me home. Okay. It's good. You're a Ranger. Your favorite Boston teams. And my answer has always been the Rangers.
No, I hear you. Well, I got to tell you, we've had some incredible guests. It's been a great day so far. And I got to tell you, we have right now, I think that you can't get a better guest than what we got right now, because this is serious royalty we've got here right now. We're talking about Restaurant 365. You got to go back. Like, how did this company even start? How did it even come to be? So we're here right now with Morgan Harris, co-founder of Restaurant 365.
We're going bigly now.
You got bigly. We started off small, started off some operators. I got 100 stores, 200 stores, 500 stores. It's all good, great. Is that now? We are with Morgan Harris, co-founder of Restaurant 365. Before we dive into it, because we got a lot to get to, Jimbo, I know you're ready to go, because this is
fired up.
I know you are.
My kind of guy.
But we got to dig into, how did Morgan Harris, how did he become the Morgan Harris co-founder of Restaurant 365? I know the guy's a golfer. I could tell because he came in wearing golf shoes. So I know he's a golfer. I think he probably just came in off the golf course. He's probably such a good golfer. He plays during the winter.
Kidding me? He's busy.
But the guy was over in Brigham Young in 1977. And he's like, do I want to be a professional golfer? Do I want to be a professional golfer? Or do I want a CPA? And he's like, no, I'm going to be a CPA. And then he started doing accounting. He's over at Price Waterhouse. And I got to tell you, he's bored out of his mind. He's bored. He's like, what am I doing? Accounting? Honestly, I'm an auditor. This is crazy. I don't want to do this. Then he goes over, he co-founds Dynamics Methods. No idea what it is, but he co-founded it. And it's an unbelievable company. And everyone knows how great it was. He's there 16 years. Listen, if it was around for 16 years, that company was doing something right. So it was over at this Dynamic Methods. And then after that, he's like, you know what we need to do? I got to co-found this. Is it co-find, Jimbo?
So I should say he's one of the founders.
He's one of the founders. Yeah, that doesn't work, right? It's terrible. Then he goes and he creates Restaurant 365. The greatest accounting software solution for restaurants in the entire world. We are lucky to have Morgan Harris here. Morgan, great to have you on. How much did I get right? How much did I get wrong? Don't tell me. Let's go with it and tell us about you and your story.
Oh wait, Morgan, this is like Schatzy's Fraser Crane moment. He's like,
and the first hour is free, by the way. I don't start charging till the second hour.
20 years on him unnecessarily. Stuck him with 20 years with the wrong graduation date. But Morgan, please introduce yourself to our listeners and fact check as much as you want what Shatsy just said.
Oh, I love it. And, dude, you tell my
He's
story.
a golfer. You're a golfer, right?
Yeah, I am a golfer.
See, I told you,
true.
Jimmy.
I loved hearing the story from you, and with your accent,
You're like, it sounded so much better.
It does. I love it. You make it more legit when you tell it. Yeah, you pretty much nailed everything there.
Thank you. Jimmy says I don't get it right. I got it right.
Yeah,
my homework here.
Can
you just tell me what Dynamics Methods does? Then
I'll fill in a couple blanks for you.
Fill in a
few
blanks.
First of all, it's how I ended up in accounting in the first place. No one really wants to be an accountant these days. So I don't want to say it. I got to school and I took these classes and it was like, I got 100% on the first exam. I was just good at it. And I thought, well, I want a job when I graduate. So I just got to do at least this. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I'm just going to do this. And my dad told me, he's like, hey, if you graduate with a degree in accounting, you'll always have a job.
I gotta tell you,
you might not like your job, but you'll actually get, you have a marketable skill that you have. And he was right. But yeah, just like you said, I get out there and I worked for Price Waterhouse, and in my world, it goes like fungus, amoeba, and then auditors. Yeah, lower level. It's like just the lowest level of society. Like,
I was going to bash Shatsy for being even remotely anything other than
and then a podcast host.
Yeah, podcast. Yes, we are the lowest. Yeah, and that's well shit. Okay, so we know.
So I'm there and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. I love these people, but like if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, no one gives a crap.
That's not true. So, that's not true, Morgan.
So I just felt like the work that I was doing just wasn't helping the business move forward. It was looking backwards in time. And so,
how many people worked at Price Waterhouse when you were there? I mean, 100,000?
No, I was like, 30,000.
Yeah. Morgan's not here. Morgan who?
Exactly. So I had a buddy who offered me a job, and he was like, hey, you don't have to wear a tie. You can work 4 days a week. I went from making, 40 grand to 60 grand. And I was like, wow, this is huge. And what it was is it was implementing accounting software that Microsoft had written. So it was their Great Plains product. And so I was teaching people how to use accounting software, and I was a CPA. So they listened to me, and it was much more interactive. I was helping a company do things that were like moving forward. And so we did that for a little while, and then I wanted to make more money. So I started selling that software, and then I wanted to make more money. So then we started our own bar business, and that's what Dynamic Methods was. Dynamic Methods was a value-added reseller of Microsoft Great Plains software. So accounting. Then you're doing that for a number of years. And while you're, after you're reselling somebody else's software for a while, you're kind of like, bro, why not? Yeah. Why don't we make our own software?
Yeah, 100%.
So the problem was, though, at the time, I can't solve an aerospace problem because I don't know anything about aerospace.
Right.
I can't solve a farming problem. I don't know anything about farming. But what we knew was accounting.
Right.
So we needed to find an industry that had an accounting problem.
Boy, you found one. Yeah. Well, what was on the list? I'm just curious. Like, did you add a room where you're like, there's 3 industries we can go into?
We tried higher education.
Mm-hmm.
We tried project management.
Mm-hmm.
We tried distribution. They do have unique things about the accounting, but it wasn't enough.
They didn't suck enough.
Yeah. It wasn't a bad enough problem or a unique enough problem that it merited its own solution.
Yep.
So we were in the midst of looking for this. And this is when Scott Armstrong, he was a CFO for a multi-unit concept there in Southern California. And he walked into our office and wanted to buy Great Plains from us. I said, tell me about your business. I don't know anything about a restaurant. I've never worked in a restaurant. I only eat at restaurants. Like, what is a restaurant? You're using QuickBooks. Why do you want something more powerful? And he explained to me on a whiteboard. I just was on the whiteboard drawing like what he was explaining to me. He's talking about theoretical food costs, something about a 13-4-week period, a bunch of intercompany stuff, labor stuff that comes in from the point of sale, credits, the way the bank reconciliation, the credit card,
ESRs,
Amex comes in on its own, the Visa, Master, and Discover come in a separate deposit. Like he's just going through all these
chargebacks,
I'm like, what? I said, dude, you got the weirdest business I've ever heard of. You're part retail.
Yeah.
And you're part manufacturing.
That's Jimmy's line.
That's my bit is tell me another industry.
No,
where
there's
the manufacturing facility, the kitchen, and the whole back of house, and their retail, the front of house, dining room. Tell me another business where they coexist.
No.
None. That's exactly right.
You're on a date with your girl.
Yep.
And on a whim, you decide to go get Chinese food. And on a whim, you effectively kick off what is a manufacturing process.
Yes.
It just doesn't exist.
I love that you just said that in part. One of the reasons we own 17 restaurants in New York City. We've been a longstanding customer user of R365 and swear by it. Our focus now is on the tech for the industry. And I try to explain to people this industry, besides being fragmented, which is why what R365 is so important, because you service really the full spectrum of players, because, from the independents to the enterprise, from the full serve to the grab and goes. But I say this industry is the most misunderstood I've ever seen. I pause for effect. And then I say, because everyone thinks they understand it. They project their guest experience onto it and think it's simple, because how hard could it be to make some food and serve some people?
Like you said, Jimmy, everyone's eaten out. Everyone's probably cooked something for themselves.
The workflow in this, to your point, isn't that when that idea of that date, that walk into that restaurant, it starts literally a workflow that has to produce that item, that dish, deliver it to you right out, and you're in the store experiencing it. How high touch is that? It's amazing. I love that.
And you know what? Here's the deal. Like, can you do that out of a taco truck or one store? There's a lot of people who hung a shingle and do this.
Sure.
Okay. There's a point at which you can maximize how much money you're making out of one store.
Yep.
And the only other way you're making money in this business is by opening a second and third and fourth location.
That's it.
And so when you do that and you just have a multi-location situation, you just went from playing baseball to football. Like, it's literally a different sport. And
no one understands when you have one restaurant and then when you open a second, you've just literally, it's like another business. You just created a whole other business
that you can't be in both places at the same time.
No, it's totally different. It's very different than, I'm manufacturing ice cream and I'm just selling more pints. So they're just producing more pints. It's very different than that.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. I mean, it's once again, like restaurateurs are passionate people. They love serving people. They're creative. They love food. They love the experience of making other people happy with their creations. But here's the hard, cold truth. You're not going to be able to do that for very long unless you figure out a way to do it by making money at the same time.
Yeah.
You just have to.
Yep.
And that's the cold, hard truth of it.
It's the restaurant business. It's a business.
Yeah, it's a business. And the language of business is accounting.
I think people sometimes forget it's business, like, buy me this, buy me that. I wonder when the last time I walked into a Bloomingdale's or a Nordstrom's or something. They're like, hey, here's a shirt. Take it. Again, not a lot of shirts. They give you a shirt. Yeah, it's like, I'm a really good customer. You made a shirt, you don't really have that.
Morgan, I want to ask you, I think this episode, specifically what we're doing together, there's no better time for me to kind of bring in a little Benjamin Franklin quote that in this world, nothing is certain except
he was born in Boston.
He was born in Boston. I think that's why our producer decided to make this a Benjamin Franklin moment. Nothing is certain or except, death and taxes. Although I'll tell you, I'm also certain that everyone here in this conference tonight is going to go eat and drink something. So I also feel that's certain. But while today we're not talking about death and taxes or any of those topics, I want to try to tweak the quote a little bit. And I'll take this. In a restaurant world, I can't be more certain that R365 bridges the gap between accounting and operations by centralizing all data to help restaurant operators. I know it's a mouthful.
Can I quote you on that, Jimmy?
Well, only if Morgan says yes. But all kidding aside, can you share a little bit about what inspired you to start? Well, I guess you talked about what inspired the start with R365. You saw the challenges. But maybe I'll ask you, how are you guys different, let's say, than your peers? Because I do think you're different. And I also think you work with a lot of your peers. So how are you different, let's say, from other accounting software solutions in the market? How are you differentiated?
When you buy inventory, does that create a debit and a credit in the form of an invoice? Does that create on the general ledger a debit and a credit when you buy inventory?
It certainly creates a debit. Yes. So I think it is both. Yes, it's both.
It creates a journal.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Journal.
Okay.
Sure.
When you get shorted something and you ask for a credit memo from your vendor,
yes,
and you enter a credit into your accounting software, does that create a debit and a credit?
Yes.
Yes. When you transfer food between one store to another store and you record that, does it create a debit and a credit?
Yes.
Answer. Okay. When you waste food and you record it on a waste log and you got to pull it out of your cost of goods sold and put it in a different line item, does that create a debit and a credit?
Yes.
When you count inventory and when you buy it, you expense it. And when you count it, you capitalize it.
Yes.
When your manager does a stock count at the end of the day, does that entry create a debit and a credit?
Again, the answer is yes.
If you sneeze on inventory, does it create a debit and a credit?
I hate when Schatz does that, but yes.
Yes. You have just gotten accounting 101 by Morgan.
So now let me ask you this question. If everything that you do with inventory is actually accounting, then why don't you track your inventory in your accounting software? Why are you using a separate piece of software to do it? Only because you've never been able to before.
Yes.
Right.
There's no software that does this except for one, Restaurant 365.
Yep.
So that's what primarily makes us unique.
I agree with you. And I got to tell you, I love that the word restaurant and the R starts, you guys put it in the name of the company. This is who you're doing this for. Yeah. We're a very operator-centric group. We look at tech and innovation that's helpful to operators. You guys scream of that. You're way on your journey now, and congrats for it. But you guys really, we've had somebody on today say they wake up in the morning and they're teary-eyed, looking at the dashboards and looking at the information. And she used the word love. Cool. And I really said, that could be the caption of that episode, that here we are talking about software and accounting and a lot of back house work. And here is a tremendous operator using the word love associated with R365.
Yeah. Restaurant 365. I love Restaurant 365. Do you know that Restaurant 365 works with over 40,000 restaurants to help them streamline their accounting operations, workforce, and business intelligent processes? That's right. Over 40,000 restaurants trust Restaurant 365. If you want to automate your accounting processes and produce a daily P&L, you need Restaurant 365. And they also just released a new tip automation solution. See how they help restaurants like Major Food Group, Taco Bell, Jack in the Box, as well as growing SMB businesses such as 7th Street Burger and Shooter's Waterfront. Visit restaurant365.com to learn more about taking your restaurant to the next level. Restaurant 365.
I was just out in the hallway talking to a customer, and they're just like, it seems like everybody's so happy around here. Why is everyone so happy? Like everyone, all your employees, like everyone's just so stoked to be around. And she's like, why do you think that is? And I'm like, honestly, I think it's because we add real value to people's lives. And it's not like some peripheral, optional little love. Oh, I kind of like this. No, like this is a requirement of business. You got to account for your stuff. And we just made your life 10 times easier. And we took out all of the reconciliation work, take out all of the dual entry, the non-value added tasks that people do. So
I love it. I think it's a great segue into a question. There's a story about you that I just want to ask you a little about, and you could embellish it and tell us more about it. But you talk about culture, and you talk about the team that you've built here at Restaurant 365 and how so many of your employees are happy. They love helping the operators do better. We've been a Restaurant 365 customer for a really long time. But I love about your company is that the staff, the team that you guys have built really are looking to help the restaurant operators. They recognize that, to your point, everyone here today is going to go out and eat and drink tonight. Everyone, if we don't eat and drink, you're probably going to die. Certainly in a period of time, right? You have to eat and drink. But I mean, there's a funny story that going above and beyond for customers. And I think that is probably the culture that you've ingrained in your team, that literally that you had a situation, you'll tell us more about it, that you jumped on a one-way flight to New York, headed directly to Best Buy to make sure that a client had the proper hardware to operate their back of house. Give me a little bit more on that story. Did I get it all wrong?
No. Well,
was there a flight involved?
No, yes, there was.
Were you ever in New York?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so then I got something right there.
You did.
And you were in Best Buy?
Yes, I
okay,
was.
Good. All right, I got most of it right.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, good.
So I got to tell you, and the first thing you need to know about this is that once we had the idea for Restaurant 365, that it consumed my mind 100%.
Sounds like
every single
debits and credits is still freaking you out.
Minute of the day, it was like, we have to do anything we could to bring this to pass in the world. And the effort to do it, it wasn't even work. It was like, I would rather do that than play golf. I'd rather do that than vacation with my family. Like it was like an itch I just had to scratch. It was like it consumed me.
Right.
Okay. So it was just with passion, with every part of my body and my co-founders too. Like it was all we were thinking about and talking about with everything that we had. We put our financial resources in every moment of every waking day into this thing. Okay. So we start out, we talk a couple of years into it. We finally have something that we can sell. We have our first version of it, MVP. And the first version that we had, it was written in such a way that it wasn't quite optimized to work that well over a browser, over the web, unless the customer had a certain level of the browser had to be up to a certain version, or things like that. Okay. So a certain amount of memory on their
power. You needed power.
But it was like what most customers most people would have.
Not restaurant operators.
Okay. So there you go. So we did this. And here comes the story. So we have this is one of our early customers. They had a fine dining restaurant in New York City. They had 10 stores, and dude, they were so antiquated. The computers that they were using were like Windows
Macintosh,
Windows 95.
Macintosh. Why wasn't even supported by Windows?
It was so old school, and they don't have any. There's just no vision or budget to upgrade.
They don't have IT people.
Yeah, no, they're just okay. Welcome to the industry, right? Mm-hmm. Like this is like the thing is, bro. Like it was a do or die moment. These guys, like we needed them on our client list, like to build upon and to tell their story. Sure. It was like pull out all the stops. And I said, I called them up. I called the CFO up, and I said, listen, it's because of your machines that you're getting these big lag times in the responsiveness of our software. And he's like, well, I can't afford to upgrade my hardware. And I'm like, I'm coming. I'm coming right now. I'm going straight to Best Buy, and I'm throwing.
RAM.
I bought 3 computers. I got in the car. I took an Uber straight to Best Buy in New York. I loaded them up. I walked in, replaced him and his team. We put them all new computers and set them all up, and they were fine after that. But it was like the whole thing hinged on one moment. Sure. So I had to do whatever it took, right?
I believe me.
It never became a problem again. We made it better to work on more browsers over time. And not everybody's so, ancient in the way they're buying their hardware and every kind of thing leveled up. But it's just it's a story that's indicative, like anyone who has a dream, anyone who's ever started a business can relate to that story.
Yeah,
they'll be like, I'd cut corners.
You weren't going to let that get in the way of the bigger picture.
Yeah, you sometimes
a couple of PCs from Best Buy. I could do that.
It's like in Ratatouille when they go to buy. You ever see that movie?
Absolutely.
When the chef, they go to buy the food, and she's like, "You got to get there early. You got to pay the supplier so you get the best fruit." Like that's the kind of thing. Like I'm not going to sacrifice this thing because of this. I'm not going to let that get in the way of my success. So
I think that is awesome.
Yeah, it's a great story. I love it.
I sign off in every one of I write a weekend newsletter. Brandon has we have the hospitality headline, and I always end my section with, it takes a village, with the belief that if you want to go fast, you can go alone. You want to go far, you go together. And I think it takes a village is something I embrace. Our producer was talking about a Beatles song about, the lyrics. It takes a little help from my friends. Selling to restaurants. And we work with a lot of tech companies. We have 49 court codes. Selling to restaurants is brutal, especially when you're kind of a new kid on the block, because they're so in the weeds fighting. Now this business. You see what they're doing to try to compete and execute and satisfy guests and maintain the team. It's really hard. So
let me interrupt you for just a second. We have a unique situation at Restaurant 365 because when we sell, I have to sell to the CFO, and the VP of Ops. I have to get both of these people to agree to use the same piece of software.
You're right. It's twice as hard. You're right. Easily.
And the thing is, it's magic though. When you get these people in there, they're like, wait a minute, we're going to be running off the same set of numbers? You mean we're not going to be arguing anymore? You mean I don't have to wait for you to close the books until 2 weeks after the thing before I know what I'm doing in my stores? Wait, are you serious right now?
Yeah.
Let's go.
It's real-time data, man.
Yes.
But you guys, and I agree with you, and I love that. But you guys actually have developed a really strong channel partnership, and you're working with accounting firms, and you're kind of exuding this, kind of, let's do it together. Let's win together. Talk about, what can you share with this program of how you're leveraging your strong channel partnerships?
Yeah. So it's about 30% of the industry, restaurateurs, just view accounting as something that's not strategic to their business. And so they outsource it to a third-party group, to their accountants, just handle it for them, which quite frankly, if I opened a restaurant, I probably would do that. I just was like, hey, just somebody else do that.
At
least initially, until I had the size and girth to hire a full-time CFO and a controller and all that kind of stuff, I would probably just outsource that and focus on the customer experience, and ops is probably the way I would start. So there's a big chunk of the industry who just does this, and they're phenomenal accounting partners who handle this. And with a tool that we have, in a restaurant specific tool, in the way we connect with the point of sale, it makes their life and accounting and servicing their customers, oh man, like it makes them look so good. So it's a great way for us to reach a lot of those customers who wouldn't, they would just use our operations only. So in fact, the guy who walked into our office the first time, he was an outsourced CFO for this group. It was a channel partner who actually was the very first kind of impetus behind the idea of Restaurant 365 that kind of exposed us to this. And so,
it seems like if you get a bunch of the accounting firms on board and they have a bunch of restaurants in their, as clients.
The technical term for that is they're a customer consolidator. Yeah. They already have a whole bunch of customers. And so we can reach many through one.
Shatsy, that's podcast gold.
No, that is podcast gold.
Customer consolidator.
Because at the end of the day, if that accounting firm that has 100 restaurants embraces 365, then all of those restaurants are on 365. And by the way, they can grow up and then take 365 on their own if they wanted to, if they bring in their own CFO, et cetera, et cetera.
And it's even become even better for us because, at the end of the day, our Restaurant 365, we're a software company. We are not a services company.
Right.
So we have spillover. We have more people signing up with us than we have bandwidth to onboard for the time that they want. And so we've been able to leverage these partners to actually do some of the implementations for us, which has been great because they have the bandwidth, they have the expertise, let them do it, and then it gives them opportunities to sell tax services and other services.
I was just telling one of your new customers, and they just are starting to onboard. And I said, it's really, really important. If you don't think you know what you're doing, you're not sure about something, you got to bring professional people that know what they're doing, because if you set it up wrong, you're going to be really unhappy.
Well, you're just paying yourself.
And it's accounting. This is not something innate to a restaurant operator. Like you said, we're selling food, we're making beautiful restaurants, making people happy. That's what we're doing, Yep. So that's, it's awesome. Oh, Morgan, I got to tell you, Jimbo, we're going to have to speed this baby up because apparently Morgan is needed very quickly.
All right.
I'm getting notes. I'm getting notes here.
That's how important at this event, Morgan, is that you're literally.
Yeah, he's needed to close out a panel. So if you want to jump into talking back, and we'll jump in.
You know what? We clearly, Schatz and I like to banter, and this is a lot of fun. We learned along the way.
Skip talking back. All right, you better be quick.
Right. We learned along the way that sometimes our guest has a question for us. I said a question or two, but you get one. Nothing's off the table. The microphone is yours, my friend.
How'd you guys meet? Like, I want to know the backstory of how you guys meet.
That's an easy one and a quick one, Jimmy, because we don't have a lot of time.
I'll let you do it then.
Go ahead. Oh, Jesus, Jimbo. You do it, Jimmy. You're great. You're great at it.
All right. One of my best friends I met in the 8th grade and went to high school with goes off to college and meets Shatsy. And basically by the commutative property, she was friends with our boy Dino. I was a good friends with our boy Dino. So Schatz and I look at each other like we got a choice. We could fight over Dean. We could make
friends. We can love them together.
Or we can get along together. And I'm not kidding. We Schatz and me, it's 37 years now.
It's 37.
And that's how we met. And we started as friends. I invested in his first restaurant, Shatsy's. And then about 5 years ago, we came back together and legitimately now are running this company together. So it's been approaching 4-decade journey.
I love
it.
Yeah,
and I never liked the guy.
It's a lot of fun when you can work with someone that you love and you're friends with and you're friends first. And so it's great.
It's not even work.
It's
it's not.
Sometimes I hear something, Jimbo. I hear something. I got to tell you, we have the food service feud coming up. You hear that music. Everyone knows that song, right? I'm going to ask, we asked over 100 million people on LinkedIn this week. That's a lot of people. You know, that's a lot of people. And we asked them a question and they answered. Okay. You get your imaginary buzzer there.
I'm ready.
And I'm going to ask the question. Okay. Are you ready? Here we go. I'm going to give you 4 answers. You can tell me the top answer. Okay. Which condiment was used for its medicinal qualities in the 1800s? Can you guess the right answer? Is it balsamic vinegar, ketchup, mustard, or mayonnaise?
I go ding.
Jimbo?
Go with the spiciest one there, the mustard.
And you can steal this and win fabulous prizes.
I'm going balsamic.
I can't believe we didn't get a winner here. It's ketchup. It's ketchup.
Sugar. It's got the sugar.
In the 1830s, tomato ketchup was sold as a medicine that could cure ailments like diarrhea, indigestion, and jaundice. The idea was initially proposed by Dr. John Cook Bennett, an American physician in 1834, who later decided to sell the recipe in the form of tomato pills. Oh, there you go, kids. So anyway, we're going to learn something new.
Want to give a little shout out to where all those kind of drop in knowledge comes from?
I got to tell you, Jimmy, if you eat up fun industry facts as much as we do, then you should check out the newly released Restaurant 365 2024 State of the Industry Report. You can download the full report for my fun facts of food at restaurant365.com. Restaurant365.com.
That's a very expensive report.
Jimmy, it's free. Download it and you're going to learn a lot. Okay, here we go. We got 1 minute. Here we go. Brandon Quickfire. Morgan, we're in Boston. Wait, where are you from?
Vegas.
You're from Vegas.
I grew up in Vegas. I live in Southern California.
You live in Southern California. Okay, here we go. Boston edition quickfire. Here we go. Favorite restaurant chain started in Boston? Is it Legal Seafoods, Uno Pizzeria and Grill, Bertucci's, or Papagino's?
Uno.
Favorite TV show in Boston? Cheers, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Ally McBeal, or The Practice?
Cheers for sure. No question. Yeah.
Oh, look at that, huh? It's like I knew.
Yeah.
You knew.
Yeah.
Favorite Boston-born celebrity? Is it Mark Wahlberg, Uma Thurman, Ed Norton, Gabby Walters, or Conan O'Brien?
Uma.
Red Sox, Celtics, Bruins, or Patriots?
Celtics for sure.
If you want to challenge Jimmy Roddy to compete for the best time in the Boston Marathon, Jimmy, you and I, we're going to run in the Boston Marathon. What do you have better odds of beating?
Jimmy.
All right, there we go. And we are under the clock. We've got to get you out in 1 second. Alex just came in, your CMO, and said they need you to end it up. This was awesome, Morgan. You're doing great things for the industry, and we really appreciate what you're doing because I got to tell you, restaurants need help, and one help we need is accounting. We know how to cook the food. We know how to make the food.
We can't account for any of it.
We can't account for any of it. You know what I mean?
You'll do it for love of the game. Morgan and his company to make sure it's a profit.
And I got to tell you, it's really important. You save it. You're helping the restaurants make money and stay in business. That's awesome. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
We're talking about Restaurant 365. I love this software. Restaurant 365 works with over 40,000 of the top restaurants in the United States to help them streamline their accounting operations, workforce, business intelligence processes. Restaurant 365, trusted by over 40,000 restaurants. If you want to automate your accounting processes, produce daily P&L, you need Restaurant 365. And they just released a new tip automation solution, which is dynamite. See how they helped restaurants like Major Food Group, Taco Bell, Jack in the Box, as well as growing SMB businesses such as 7th Street Burger and Shooter's Waterfront. Visit restaurant365.com to learn more about taking your restaurant to the next level.